Mompreneur Studio. I'm Anisa Crespo, and on this episode of She Swaps, I'm talking to Veronica Castro-Albano, and she is a woman's life coach. So, Veronica, welcome.
Thank you so much, Anisa, for having me, and I'm so honored to be on your show.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to get to know a little bit about you. So, tell us about your journey and how you came into being a life coach and anything else you'd like to share with us.
Yes, of course. Well, I became a women's life coach because I really wanted to use my story. I guess we all have something that happens to us that's difficult, and hopefully we learn from that experience. And so then part of what had happened was that I had suffered with postpartum depression after having my second son, but we had moved from Argentina, and it was, at least for me, it was rare to hear this conversation. So I really didn't know what was going on with me. I I hadn't even heard of anybody that had it. So of course I did not go to the doctor. I thought that I had to try harder, better, take a nap, go to the mall, myself something. I don't know. We try everything, right? But of course it was a clinical imbalance. So it developed into clinical depression, and it took me 10 years to get better. At the end of the 10 years, I had to do a day treatment. We had moved in the middle. We'd been to England twice. I don't know if you've been there, but it rains a lot. And of course, that didn't help because the weather was so dreary and wet. And so anyways, I did this treatment, and through this experience, it was a day program. I had to go there every day, 9 to 3. It was almost like going to school, right? Learning all these classes on how to get better coping skills. Because one thing is the medical part, and he said there's parts that you have to be on some kind of medical treatment. But then there's all the emotional side that doctors don't always talk about that. So that's why you go to a therapist. So this treatment involved all kinds of, individual therapy, um, just like group therapy, group activities. So uh, fast forward 18 months after I finished it, we came back to America, and I really felt the pull to write my story. And I wanted to write it because I thought, I wish I would have had this story when I was going through this. Somebody that tells you how everything is for real, like, when it's just a mess. And of course, my sons are like, Mom, you are not going to write your story. I'm like, I think I am, because, I really feel that the experiences that we go through, I guess they're for us to learn in that moment, but then they're also to share so other people can learn as well, and we get to save them some time, right? So after I did that, I became a recovery coach, which, helps people that are recovering from mental health to just have better coping skills, and to, just like as a peer, not because you're better, but because you a little bit ahead of their road, their journey. So I did that, and I realized, some people don't want to get well. They really don't. They're afraid of how that looks like. And even if you're presenting all these skills and all these things that they could be doing, they really don't want to do that. And so it broke my heart, because I'm like, I have a map here. This is what you could do because it worked. It works because it worked for me. But I realized that it was very triggering sometimes. So I decided to become a life coach, because people that are excited about their life, they want to do things, and sometimes they need that accountability, and just knowing that they can work with somebody that has already done that is amazing, because then they feel confident that they'll be able to get good results. So that's how it kind of started.
Wow, that's amazing. So first of all, I mean, I'm so glad that you're sitting here happy, healthy, and you did make it out of that dark place because, I think a lot of people don't realize how severe postpartum depression can be. You know, and it kind of manifests a little bit differently in everyone.
Mhm.
But I know for me personally, like I had twins right at the onset of COVID.
Wow.
And I don't know that I ever had postpartum depression, but things were just weird. I mean, everything kind of just changed. My body changed, my emotion changed, the entire world was changing around me. So everything was just kind of a little bit weird and hard to process. So I can only imagine. I don't necessarily think I had postpartum depression, but I definitely could feel something different inside of myself. And your body's going through a major change. Like giving birth is, obviously millions and millions of women do it all the time. But that's not to discount the things that happen in our bodies and in our brains as far as emotions and all the different changes that we have to endure, and not just internally but externally and in our environments. And now we're responsible for a whole nother life,
Yes.
or two in
That's
my case. So
respect. Yes, I was just gonna say respect that you have twins. I don't know. That's like a
yeah,
next
yeah.
level mom, I don't know
Yeah,
how.
no, and it's a beautiful thing. It really is. But then somehow along the way we tend to like get a little bit lost
Yeah.
of ourselves. And especially like, I talk to a lot of my clients are like stay-at-home moms.
Mhm.
And nobody really talks about, the kind of depression that they experience as stay-at-home moms, because everybody's always like, oh, working moms, they're balancing it all. They're, you know what I mean? But we shouldn't be discounting the stay-at-home moms because they have their own struggles too.
Exactly.
Whether it's loneliness or feeling like they don't have a whole lot of purpose aside from like, being a mom or a housewife or whatever the case is, because they struggle with those things too. But
Mhm.
I think the important thing for women to hear is that there is help for it. And if you're not sure what you're experiencing, definitely seek out some help, whether that's medical treatment, whether it's, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, all of the above. Because, a lot of times we also may count on like our support system as far as our family, but maybe they're not able to help us. So
Absolutely.
hold on one
See, for
second.
me, my family had never experienced that. So they're like, but Veronica, you're in a beautiful country. You have this opportunity that your husband got promoted and you can work in and live in a pretty house and do all these things. And I'm like, yeah, but I have to live inside my mind. And right now there's a lot going on. And when it started as postpartum, but then because I took a year to go to the doctor, because I was thinking, what am I going to show him? Like, what am I going to tell him? That I've been crying? That's it? That sounds so lame. And so I didn't want to go to the doctor. And so when I went, it was too late. And I already had, severe clinical depression. It had evolved. And of course, things that we don't treat, right, get worse. So I feel like you are absolutely right. Mom, sometimes just not only the loneliness, but just when you have a 2-year-old and you want to have a conversation, it's difficult. Sometimes and I adore my kids. I mean, I am blessed that they're outstanding. I look at them today, they're 22 and 24. My son's about to graduate college, and the other one's doing amazing things. And really, um, I know that my mom was praying for me because sometimes when you have that kind of support, of course you do a medical treatment, you do, everything that you can, but sometimes I feel like you need divine intervention because it was really amazing how, my faith took a hit during that time, but when somebody is at least holding you so that you don't completely, collapse. But I felt that the good things about going through something is that you level with people when you can have a conversation. Like some experiences I really haven't had in my life. So when people talk about them, I can't really say, oh, wow, I understand what you're going through because I don't, And when we say that, we have to be careful because if we have never experienced that, you really have no right to say that you understand.
Yeah,
So when people say, I had this and it was so embarrassing for me, I totally understand, what they've been through because that was me. And
yeah,
a lot of my clients are my youngest version. So I felt that it was a climb not only to recover, from the depression, but also things like low self-esteem, right? This sickness had just really depleted any kind of confidence, any kind of self-love that I had because I felt so frustrated. Things like self-worth. I mean, my worth had always been tied up to the things that I could do. And here I was feeling like I didn't have energy, not even to make a dinner. Can you imagine my self-worth? It was just, yeah, non-existent. So how do you build on that, right? How do you start to, and of course the mindset, because there's so much negativity that it's almost like another person lives inside of you, drives your car, wears your jeans, takes care of your kids, but it's not you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyways, the fact that I could recover, of course, it's not a one and done. It's not like, oh, I finished my treatment, I got a diploma, good luck with that. No, you keep doing the same coping skills that you did so that it's almost like you don't go to the gym one day and expect to, right, to be super fit for the rest of your life. You got to keep doing it.
Of
And
course.
so when there's a trigger, when there's something that reminds me of something, I know immediately to pay attention to that thought, but replace it with a more positive one. Because you can't just say, oh, I'm not going to think about it and not replace it with anything else. Because guess what? That thought is going to come back and
Yeah,
come
then it just festers and gets worse and worse. And it's so important too to recognize that it doesn't matter what you have or what your status is. I mean, depression affects everyone. There are, everybody has this, not everybody, but a lot of people have this notion
yeah.
that, because you're like rich or you have, you're well off, like you can't be affected by depression. There are celebrities that have literally taken their own lives because they've
Yes.
so depressed. And it happens, and nobody should be disqualified from that. And their feelings should not be downplayed because, oh, you have this, you have that. It doesn't matter. It's like everybody deals with their feelings in a different way. And you're right. A lot of people, maybe not that they don't want to get better, but they're afraid of what it looks like because
Yes.
they only know a certain way. It's like, think of there are a lot of people who, like criminals who have gone to prison and
Yeah.
they get out and they commit crimes so they can go right back in because they don't know how to live on the outside. They only
Exactly.
know life in society as a prisoner. And it's hard to adapt when you're not used to something. I mean, it's very difficult for people to get out of their comfort zone. And what might look like uncomfortable to us, somebody else might be totally comfortable living that.
Yes. Absolutely.
So,
Yes. And the other thing that was important to me was to understand that even if this had happened to me, I said I still could continue to live my life, that I still had a purpose, that I was still valuable. And I always think of a $20 bill that's right out of the bank and one that's been through a few cycles in the wash, right? And sometimes our life looks like that bill, but if you go to Target, you can buy the exact same things with the two of them. It's not that you lose your worth because something has happened to you or because it doesn't look as new. I don't know. I've lived on 3 different continents. I don't know anybody that hasn't gone through a challenge in their life. It's what life happens to everybody, right?
absolutely. It happens to everybody, no matter what, no matter how successful you are,
Yeah,
people around you still pass away, right? I mean, that's
exactly.
just a fact of life. And you shared with me that you lost some people close to you who were very young. So if you don't mind, just share a little bit about that and how it's affected
Yeah.
your outlook on life.
I feel that yes, we were talking just I've lost 2 sisters to breast cancer, and I lost my parents, which is a little bit more understandable because, of my age and everything, but I also lost 2 of my best friends. And when you start to see that loss in your life, of course you honor them and you miss them every day. But I think I've learned a few things on that. One is that we're here. We're breathing. So I don't want to be like, oh, my life has no purpose. I don't want to get up in the morning. No. When you get excited about your passion, about things that you can be doing, it's like you want to honor that time, the time that we have left, because nobody knows how long we have. People think, oh, in 10 years, I'm gonna, retire and whatever. you could be gone, God forbid, in a year or two, 5, and I feel like the time that we have is so precious. And for my sisters to be gone and my friends, I feel like you honor their life by remembering good things about them. Because after I did my treatment, that's when my sister passed away. And I had two choices, really. I thought, is this going to trigger me all the way down to where I started? Or can I honor her life but also honor my recovery and say, you know what, I'm going to miss her all the rest of my days because there's nobody like her, but my life goes on. And yes, I think of her. Yes, I honor my sisters and my friends, but I also feel that they would want me to be happy and to keep on doing, you know, fulfilling my purpose. And the other
Absolutely.
thing is that we are all unique. When people scroll on Instagram, or, they're saying, oh, wow, I wish I could look like her, or I wish I could have her family, or go on this vacation, or do her life. We don't realize that every one of us is unique and extraordinary. And that after our life is over, there's no refill, there's no replay. There's not going to be another any of us, and that's how we know we're so unique. And when people tell me, oh, I'm not very special, I haven't done anything special in my life, I'm like, excuse me? Like, I am so surprised, but also I used to think like that. So I understand where they're coming from. So to me, life is very important. And not that I have a pie in the sky life. My other sister is undergoing treatment right now, and I have other challenges, but we always have a choice. Are we going to focus on what's wrong? Or can we focus on what's good, what's right in our life? Because I feel like focusing on the bad never gives you more energy. It kind of kills it. And there's so many things that are good, that are positive, that are, you know, worth being happy about. So,
That's exactly right. And comparison is the thief of joy.
yeah.
And when we compare ourselves to other people, it's just it sucks literally the life out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. We're all at different levels, and you don't ever really know the next person's struggle. A lot of people see other people's success, but they don't see all the blood, sweat, and tears that were put in behind it. A lot of times successful people have worked very hard to get that way. Now, granted, there are people who were handed things to them in their lives, but I mean, I know for myself, I had to work for everything I have, and it's been a very, very bumpy road. And I think you're exactly right where we should not ever take life for granted. I mean, I have also lost both of my parents. My mom's been gone now for I think like 7 years. She was my best friend, and also, cancer. And, my dad passed away like 18 months before she did. And
Mm, I'm so sorry.
yeah, thank you. And you know what it is? It's like I had a really rough time, but I was able to come out of it. And we all grieve in our different ways.
Yes.
But the thing to remember is what's important. Like now, I moved to Florida a couple years ago, and when I moved to Florida, I was actually diagnosed with melanoma, and it just kind of puts your mortality in perspective a little
Yes.
bit. You know what I mean? And it makes you realize what's important in life. And over the course of the past year, like I was working a very demanding full-time job while building my own business. And I have 4-year-old twins, and my daughter one morning said to me, why don't you love us? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, you only love to work. And that hit me hard because I was putting in like 18-hour days
Mm,
and really committed to, building my business, but also having a job. And I was like, something has to go, and it's definitely not going to be my business. So I quit my 6-figure job, and I said, you know what? I'm going to continue to build my business. And God always provides. He has always provided for me. And we're blessed to be here. Like every day that he wakes us up, it's just another blessing. And we should never take it for granted. We should do the things that make us happy. We should be with the people that we love and just cherish every moment that we can with them, because you really don't know when the last minute is the last minute.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. I also feel that as moms, we want to do the best for our kids, but sometimes, we feel nobody, I don't think anybody sits on their bed and says, okay, how can I ruin my kid's life today? Nobody does that, right? We
No.
try the best we're able to do. And I'm sure you were looking out for, as you said, building your business, doing everything so that they would have a good life too. And of course, when kids, they come to me, one of the turning points that I knew I had to start the treatment was when I saw the boys see me that undone. I said, they cannot see me this way. They were already 10 and 12, and I had forgotten, the sound of my laughter. I'd lost my smile. I'd lost a sense of who I really was. And I thought, no, no, no. Little people have a way of, okay, so teenagers at that point, but they have a way of talking to our soul. Like they give us a reality check quicker than, anything else. And I feel it's so important to also listen to that. But I guess as moms, we're all trying to do the best we know how.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to, see the world through my own eyes so that I can make it the best for them, because I did have, a rough time growing up and been through a lot of things, but like none of that ever defines me, right? It doesn't make me who I am. It makes me who I am as far as the things that I've gone through and overcome. It shows my resilience, it shows my strength, but it doesn't make me a victim. I'm just a survivor.
That's
Um,
amazing. I
and
love it.
yeah, and I really want to see the world through their eyes, because they see it differently than we do, especially when
Absolutely.
they're super little.
Yes. Yes. And also that it ties into, I was thinking that the things that we've gone through, sometimes we feel they're like rocks in our life. They're challenges, they're mountains, these things that we have to overcome. And lately I was not demanding an answer, but I was asking God, like, how can this be that I had to go through all these things? And I didn't hear a voice out loud, but I had like an impression on my heart saying like, what if you could see them as the stepping stones of strength, of resilience, of that brought you all the way to where you are today and who you've become. And I thought
Absolutely.
that that was so cool because how would we have gotten to be who we are today if we hadn't had the challenges, for the resilience? When kids go to school, we all go to school because we have to learn. And even if it's hard, then we can, write a paper when we're in college. And if we hadn't gone through our school years, how would we do that, right? And so sometimes we don't like to be uncomfortable, but how are we going to learn, right?
Yeah, that's the best time to learn, is when we're most uncomfortable and we're most
Yeah.
vulnerable. And everything in my life has either been a lesson or a blessing. And, I don't consider the mistakes, any form of like regret, like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. You know what? I did it, I learned from it, and now I get to teach other women how
Yeah.
to not make those kind of mistakes. So
Uh-huh.
that is the blessing. That is, okay, yes, I did go through and I did a lot of things the hard way, but now I get to show other women. And that is part of my purpose. Like right at the time when I had this diagnosis, I did have this like spiritual awakening. And after having been in a male dominated industry for over 10 years, I really was like, I've been through so much. I have to help women.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm doing now. And it's
Yeah.
amazing. It really is.
I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing because the fact that as moms, we try so hard to do everything and we have so many hats that we wear. And I feel like when I can relate to other women that are working in different areas of their life, a lot of the things that hold them back is that they don't feel like they're enough. And so part of what I'm doing, and I'm sure you're doing very similar things, is empowering them to believe in who they are, because who they are is enough. Because for their purpose, I feel like it's almost like we have a backpack full of things that enable us to already do what we're supposed to be doing. But when we try to be somebody else, it doesn't fit that person. It's only for us. And so understanding our uniqueness. A part of the Bible says that we're created individually and that we're unique and so special. And I feel like when we say, well, I'm not very special or I don't have any gifts, we're not really looking inside. Because if we asked our friends, what am I good at? Or what do you think is good about me? They would have a whole list of things. But
Yeah.
because it's us, we think they're normal and that everybody has that. And we discount them like it's nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And
we're our own worst critics,
oh,
and
why do
we
we do
all need to be kinder to ourselves. I mean, yeah, we should all try to be a little kinder to each other, but we need to speak kindly to ourselves. We really
that?
do,
Absolutely.
because we're so hard on ourselves. And, it's even like the little things that we pick out about ourselves, that like a blemish or like something, and other people are like, I didn't even notice.
Exactly.
So
And the
it's
worst part was that if that was your friend telling you these things, you would, of course, not be her friend anymore. If it was your
yeah,
neighbor, you would move. But how can
exactly.
you get away if she lives inside your head, right? So
Exactly.
it's
Well,
terrible.
I am so glad that you're here and you found your smile and you found your laughter. And I'll make sure that everybody has, a way to connect with you. But what is the best way to reach out to you?
Well, they can email me. It's info at coachingextraordinarywomen.com. The website is coachingextraordinarywomen.com. The Instagram is also Coaching Extraordinary Women. And then I have a Facebook. It's funny because I have a Facebook that's Coaching Extraordinary Women, but everybody follows me on like Veronica Castro-Albano. So I don't know why I even have the page because nobody's there. So, but as I say, I'm just starting. So I don't have a lot of followers or anything, but that's also what I feel is good when you can start small and, it's fine because even if you help one person or 100, you're still helping people. And I feel like it's so important to know that other people can be understood just as they are and where they are. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody has started somewhere.
yeah,
Jeff Bezos started in a basement.
exactly. See?
So I'm so glad to have the opportunity to chat with you today. And I love what you're doing. And I love that you've come out of the things that you've gone through and now you're helping other women. And if you could leave the audience with just one thing, what would it be?
I would like you to think about how you were so resilient and what would you tell your 18-year-old version? What would you tell your 10-year-old version? Because sometimes I feel like those versions were counting, on who we are today to tell us, you're going to be okay. You're going to make it. And this is not going to be the end. And you're going to go on to live a great life. Or maybe, just telling her, you know, you can do this. Because sometimes our self-doubt is so intense that we freeze in our tracks and we think that we're not going to be able to advance on our journey. So
I love that. I
looking
love that.
back,
Absolutely. This too shall pass.
yes,
Veronica,
yes,
thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your journey with us. I really appreciate it.
you're so welcome. I'm honored to be here. So thank you for having me.
All right, that was great. So
Oh, thanks.
now